So I recently redid everything with my website again. I've done it many, many times before. In this video, I'm simply going to give you a summary of the changes that I've made and how my site and my membership site is now put together. All right, well, the 10-second synopsis is this. I basically took the lab, which was my membership site, and it was on a subdomain, and my blog, which was on the public domain, and I merged them together. Okay, so now everything is on one site. Now, as part of doing that, I made a few software changes, kept a lot of it, but made a few changes. But before we go into what those changes are, let's go back, rewind the clock a little bit, and actually look at some of the changes that I've made over this site and kind of why I made them, because I've actually been through a lot of different software changes here. Those of you who have been around a little while may remember that I used to run a very custom theme inside the membership, and I ran everything on a membership platform called MemberMouse. Now, MemberMouse still operates as a WordPress plugin. It's a fairly well-known membership site plugin for WordPress, although these days I really have very little positive to say about it, because here's the thing. I believe, when I really look back in perspective, I believe it started the ball rolling on a bunch of changes that I made, and it really came down to some frustrations with MemberMouse. It started with some performance issues. It just was not very fast. It was a big, beefy plugin. The admin area was really slow, and they pretty much never updated the damn thing. I mean, that was one of my biggest frustrations with MemberMouse, is that it just never got better, even though I was paying a lot for it. They were basically charging me monthly like it's a SaaS product, like it's a software as a service, but yet it's a WordPress plugin. I'm responsible for all the resources. I'm the one making everything work, and they're sitting there charging me that kind of money for it. I think I was probably paying them, I don't know what I was paying them, $600 or $700 a year to use it, and it was pissing me off. And so I really needed to get out from underneath MemberMouse. But here's the thing. The slowness of it was leading me to a few different things. First of all, I started offloading my hosting. I went from WP Engine to WPX hosting. Now I'm over on Cloudways. A lot of that was because things were so damn slow, and a lot of it in retrospect was because of MemberMouse. I also started changing my shopping cart. I actually abandoned running new sales through MemberMouse, and I moved everything to ThriveCart. Now, ThriveCart is a third-party hosted shopping cart system, a really good one. I'm a big fan of ThriveCart, and I was really happy to start moving my sales over to ThriveCart and stop putting new signups into MemberMouse. And a big part of that is because I was kind of future casting being able to get rid of MemberMouse, because MemberMouse, I saw the writing on the wall, man. I wanted to get rid of it, but it holds your subscriptions hostage. When people set up a membership with MemberMouse, it is tied to MemberMouse. Unlike a lot of these other systems, including ThriveCart, that will make use of the subscription platform on Stripe or PayPal, and basically you don't lose billing. If I turned off MemberMouse, all of my subscription renewals stop. They can kiss my ass as far as I'm concerned on that one. So anyways, I started moving sales to ThriveCart. That's another piece that was offloaded, all right? And then I made this massive move of moving everything to a subdomain. Why? Well, because my site was too slow. I was running too many plugins, and WordPress and MemberMouse was just in the way. It was like, just to write a blog post, everything was slow because MemberMouse was sitting in there, and I was running a lot of different plugins to make things happen. So I thought that by splitting everything apart, it would make my life easier. And it did. It sped things up, okay? But the membership site was still kind of slow back there, again, because MemberMouse was still there. And so in 2020, kind of shortly after all the pandemic lockdowns and everything started, I began to make some radical changes to the site. And I started really migrating away from MemberMouse. And I switched everything up. That was the time where I moved the lab over to BuddyBoss in order to get rid of the custom theme that I was running. I don't like being in a position where I'm the only one in the world that knows how my theme is put together. BuddyBoss is doing a much better job than I was, and it's a solid platform. And so I moved over to BuddyBoss. I also I kept my sales with ThriveCart. I started moving my membership functionality to WP Fusion. WP Fusion allows me to control content protections and stuff using tags in conjunction with Drip, which is my CRM. It is a beautiful combination. I'm still using WP Fusion. I refuse to ever stop using WP Fusion. It's like the Swiss Army knife of plugins. It does everything. And so that's where I was for the longest time, still running MemberMouse in the background just for those people who were still had their subscriptions tied to it. But I was running everything through WP Fusion, through ThriveCart. It works really nicely, that combination. But everything was still on a subdomain. So that brings us to today. Okay, so I've got this tech stack and it's working nicely, although ThriveCart's still out there and it's sort of its own independent thing because it's not part of WordPress. And of course, I have my sites separated. Subdomain is the membership. The root domain is the public blog. Now that brings on a few different issues that are just different than what I had before. The speed was no longer the issue because MemberMouse is adios amigo, but I have other issues. First of all, when you have two separate sites, one of the issues is duplicate content. Now, not from a search perspective, it's literally an in-house consideration of where do things go, especially when you're in a situation where you're selling stuff on the membership platform, but you might need to have pages that actually sell it over on the main platform because that's where the marketing takes place. And when you have two different databases, there can be complications. For instance, sales letters. You want to have sales offers and a sales letter for the membership on the main site, right? But you also need one in the membership. That way, if free members come across it or they try to access it and they don't have access to something, you need to be able to give them an upgrade offer, right? And so that means you're presenting the offer in two different places. In reality, probably more than that. And so I had this situation where I had offers in two different places. It's just more maintenance. I had to recreate things. I had to do some copy and pasting. And I shouldn't have to do that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't have to do those types of things if everything was under one roof. There was a lot of extra pages and extra plumbing necessary behind the scenes simply because I had two different databases instead of one database. And that was one issue. Another issue was just the user experience of having two different sites. The blog was running on Thrive Theme Builder. I really like Thrive Theme Builder. It's like my favorite theme almost. That being said, when they logged into the lab, it was a completely different look and feel. Thrive Theme Builder is really not capable of running a site like that. That's not its use case. And so very different. Not only that, I was referring to that as the lab, the main site as the Blog Marketing Academy. So from a branding perspective, there's a little bit of confusion there. Whenever I needed a link out to one of my own blog posts, it was literally an external link. And Pretty Links, which is the system I use internally to manage affiliate links, I had to make sure that was synced up between two different databases. But there was just a user experience issue with going from one site to the other, and I couldn't provide a seamless type of thing across everything because people were only logged in on one platform. When they came to the blog, everything was the same for every person. Now, another thing is, of course, ThriveCart itself. Now, as I said, I really, really like ThriveCart. I didn't want to have to stop using it. And in fact, I'm still using it behind the scenes, but I had to make the call to bring the sales back in-house again. And so now I am actually utilizing WooCommerce as my shopping cart system. And the reason why is because ThriveCart, as awesome as it is, it's independent. It's a third-party platform. It will never integrate in with WordPress outside of doing embed codes for order forms and stuff. When you're running things for members, I already know who they are. I know their name and their email. Okay, but when with working with ThriveCart, I can pass information into the checkout form, but I can't hide it. I basically am asking them who they are every single time, even if they're already logged into my site, because it's two different pieces of software. I know I can't bill card on file, so for anything that's a repeat purchase, I have to ask them for their credit card information all over again every single time. The look and feel of ThriveCart is obviously different than what I can produce inside of WordPress. So everything about it was just different because it was over there. It wasn't part of my site. And also, I could not allow my members to self-manage their own accounts very easily because the extra crap that they have to deal with to get into their customer hub, and the fact that their customer hub on ThriveCart looks nothing like the Blog Marketing Academy, it was just not a very friendly experience to deal with accounts and things like that. Okay, so there was issues. I mean, ThriveCart is awesome. But I can't say that it's probably the best fit for a membership site, and that's because you lose a lot of the conveniences of working with member accounts for people who you already know who they are. So given the new tech stack situation and the fact that speed was no longer an issue, it came down to the fact that I had a different set of things that were starting to become bottlenecks. So once again, I was looking at putting the sites back together again, even though, a couple of years ago I did all that work to break them apart. Now I'm going to be putting them back. So the process of putting everything back together again was a little bit different. Basically, I was turning the lab into the main website, okay? But in order to do that, I got to bring all the blog content into the lab, okay? Secondly, I have to do some reworking of the look and feel of Buddy Boss, which is the theme that I've been using with the membership site, so that it actually looks appropriate for a public site as well. It needs to have a public-friendly homepage. It needs to have a blog template. It's got to have all those things. Now, Buddy Boss has some capability in that regard out of the box, but it doesn't look that great. And the last thing that I really want to do is get back into hand-coding child themes, okay? The lucky thing about Buddy Boss is that it's actually way more flexible than it looks, and that's because it integrates really nicely with Elementor, okay? Now, Elementor is not Thrive Architect, and I am way faster with Thrive Architect. I really like Thrive Architect, but I've come to really respect Elementor because I had to rebuild a lot of different core pages of the site, and I needed to build it on top of Elementor. So I've gotten to be a lot better with Elementor. It does work really well. The other thing is that Elementor clearly exceeds Thrive Architect when it comes to third-party integrations. It even has a beautiful integration with WP Fusion, so that I can make whole sections of my page conditional based on whether they're logged in or not, what tags they have in the CRM. It is gorgeous. With Thrive Architect, because it didn't integrate with WP Fusion, if I did anything like that, I was using short codes, and it was a very manual process. With Elementor, none of that, okay? So I was able to turn Buddy Boss essentially into a proper formatted website that is what you see now, and override aspects of Buddy Boss and make it look really good. And it does, I think, looks good. There's probably going to be some tweaks that I do, but it works out. And it was done with Buddy Boss, using Elementor to actually modify aspects of it. So once again, I was able to do it without modifying any code, without getting my hands dirty in that regard, which is something that I really loved about Thrive Theme Builder on the main site. For a little bit, I was considering whether to switch my courses over to Thrive Apprentice, okay? Because I do like Thrive themes, and I was like, at first I was thinking, can I do this and not have to stop using Thrive themes? At the end of the day, I decided against that. I'm using LearnDash for all my courses. I'm going to continue to use LearnDash. It integrates with everything, including WP Fusion, which is super important to me. WP Fusion cannot work with Thrive Apprentice. And it's because of Thrive Apprentice. Thrive Themes just does not prioritize working nicely with outside systems. And so, as much as the developer of WP Fusion would love to be able to support working with Thrive Apprentice, he just can't do it. He's got to wait for them to get around to it. So I said, screw it. I'm going to stick with LearnDash. And I did. So the Thrive Themes is gone. I can no longer use Thrive Theme Builder on this site. I still use it on other ones. I've still built client sites with it. I'm still a massive fan of the Thrive Suite. I just can't use it here at the Blog Marketing Academy for all of those reasons. The rest of it is obviously WooCommerce. WP Fusion and WooCommerce work together beautifully. That's the e-commerce system that it works with the best, and you can automate almost everything because it works so nicely with WooCommerce. I also should mention that WooCommerce and BuddyBoss work together really nicely because the BuddyBoss theme already has beautiful integrations with WooCommerce. So the shopping cart already looks great. It's all taken care of. And then, of course, having everything in-house means that account management and all that stuff is all taken care of in one admin panel inside of WordPress. No longer do I have to go out to a bunch of different systems. The only exception to that in my case right now is that I'm still using Drip as my CRM, and I like Drip. I may eventually transition the whole site over to Fluent CRM, so I would even bring the email list and the marketing automation in-house, which would be pretty damn amazing, actually. And I may make that change in the not too distant future. We shall see. But that is the tech stack, and that's the general summary, is that everything is one and the same again. The lab, as it has been known, will cease to exist. All the content's going to be the same. Everything's going to be exactly where you guys are used to seeing it. It's just I'm not going to be referring to it as the lab anymore because it is the Blog Marketing Academy. It's all on one site. I think the branding of that was a little bit unnecessary. At least it's unnecessary now. And I'm just, the core is that I'm always trying to simplify things. And I think that in the interest of solving a bunch of technical constraints with member mouse and site speed and all that, I solved them, but then I was left with a new complication, and that is that I had things in different places with different databases. So now I brought it all back, and the site is a lot easier. The funny thing is, and actually it's just really cool, I expected to deal with some potential site speed issues because when you have your public site and your membership site one and the same, one of the issues could be, well, because you run more plugins than normal. And so I was concerned that I'd have to ramp up my server with Cloudways and do some memory management and stuff like that. Well, to my surprise, it was actually the exact opposite. The new site is a lot faster. Even though it's just a lot faster. I don't know. I didn't even change my server settings whatsoever. It just operates much faster. I'm using the same caching plugin, which is Breeze, that works with Cloudways. But I think BuddyBoss is just so well coded and so efficient that it just works fast. It's actually quite incredible. I mean, I also some issues that I had with Thrive Theme Builder in terms of core web vitals and some of my site metrics, all those issues disappeared. BuddyBoss clearly is better coded than Thrive Theme Builder. It just is what it is. And I will say that there could be some truth to the fact that the code that is output by Elementor might actually be more efficient than what Thrive Architect does. I don't know, but all I know is that when I switched over to BuddyBoss and everything is as you guys see it here, my metrics increased. They went up. Everything improved over running a public site on Thrive Themes, even though I didn't have any of the membership plumbing on the site at the time. Kind of surprising. Okay, so that's enough geek talk for one video. I basically just want to update on the big technical part of the pivot that has been taking place internally here at the Blog Marketing Academy as far as the changes, because I know that I have people who follow along with the exact tech setup of my business, and there you have it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below and I will answer them. Now, in another video, I can perhaps expand upon some of the more business strategy changes that I'm making internally with the business as well. Just a few, bullet points. It's going to be some shorter form courses. There's going to be a more emphasis with what I'm doing on the technical aspect of WordPress and also doing services. Now, we're not going to be stopping to do the business stuff. It's just that it's going to be shorter form. It needs to be for a variety of reasons. And so the tech part is now done. Everything's back under one roof. I've simplified things. Now the business part of it is a few little shifts going on there too, in order to accommodate what I want to be doing and also where I believe I can best serve people. Okay, and perhaps we'll do more on that in a future blog post and video. Okay, but otherwise, if you have any questions about the new tech stack and any of the ins and outs and plugins, whatever, feel free to ask. I'll get back to you. All right, talk to you later.